Among scavengers, competition is intense. Black-backed jackals are thriving opportunists. They grab what they can, but success is a lifelong gamble. Rivalry among jackals causes friction and provokes conflict. Kwesi is a minor player. He's only 1 year old and not big or confident enough to compete. Many seasons will pass, but in time, Kwesi might get a chance. This is Kwesi's mother. Her pups are his new brothers and sisters. Kwesi has stayed in his parents' territory as a helper. In jackal society, where the stakes are high, the more minders a family has, the more pups are likely to survive. Jackals give birth every year just before the wet season to allow their young the best chance of survival. Myriads of insects emerge shortly after the rains, and for the next few months become a major part of the jackal's diet. For now, though, food is in short supply. All the adult jackals must concentrate on hunting. The pup's retreat is a sign that a storm is imminent. Kwesi has to brave the elements out in the open. Kwesi returns to a hidden cache. With every new season comes a change of fortune. For most of the year, Namibia's Etosha National Park is a desolate place. There's little vegetation and almost no surface water. But for a few weeks after the rains, a sweet and nutritious grass grows here, and the waterholes fill. Vast flocks of Abdim storks are attracted to the area. They come to take advantage of the abundance of insects. The brief flush of greenery is a magnet for grazers from far and wide. The jackals suddenly find their normally barren land overflowing with life. The zebra are unsettled and easily spooked. When Quercy meets his parents, relations seem strained. Even though they know each other well, they greet with caution. They're highly strung animals, neurotic even. Following the initial turmoil caused by the arrival of so many, the herds spread out and settle. Springbok time the arrival of their lambs to coincide with the new grass. The lambs get to their feet within minutes of being born. The females all give birth within a few weeks. This increases their offspring's likelihood of survival. Although newborn antelope are easy prey, the predators can only eat a limited number. The sooner a lamb is up and running and absorbed within the herd, the harder it is for the hunters to catch. Quercy is diligent in his quest to find food. The pups' lives are at stake. Healthy adults are too big to tackle, but even Quercy could kill a newborn antelope. A springbok lamb can run shortly after birth, but lacks stamina. Like all young animals, it needs to rest. To avoid attracting attention to her offspring's whereabouts, the female will only suckle her lamb 2 or 3 times a day. There is scant vegetation to hide under, but for their first few days the lambs have little scent. To find them, the predators almost have to stumble over them. Fortunately, this one's mother was still close by. Quercy has failed. The usually quiet nights now resound with the calls of courting bullfrogs. Bullfrogs survive the dry months by burying themselves and aestivating. After digging to the surface through the newly moistened soil, they then have to walk to water. This one's journey is interrupted by Quercy's younger brothers and sisters. By puffing itself up, the bullfrog tries to intimidate the 3-month-old pups. But it's his bark that scares the youngsters away. As it cools, other hunters awaken. Quercy is still on the scrounge. Like all young predators, he can't resist playing with his food. Success at last, but a mouse is a meager meal. He's heard something interesting. Kwezi has never encountered a caracal. He mobs the cat in an attempt to make her abandon her kill, but she takes little notice. Unsure of himself, he doesn't know how to deal with this stranger. Kwezi loses out on a substantial meal, but during the rainy season there are always insects to fall back on. Kwezi's father is after bigger prey. The only time a jackal can bring down an adult springbok is when it's sick or wounded. Even then, it takes patience and persistence. Through teamwork and cooperation, the pair will eventually exhaust their prey. At a large kill, territorial boundaries break down. It's a free-for-all. Even Kwezi can grab something to eat. But within minutes, a heavyweight arrives on the scene. Jackals must eat as much as possible, as fast as possible, to avoid losing precious time. Kwezi grabs a last mouthful. At last he's found something to get his teeth into, and is reluctant to give it up. But a young jackal is no match against an adult lion. Across Etosha, jackal families are reuniting. This could be one of the last times that Kwesi performs these rituals with his parents. The pups are becoming independent, so the family won't be needing a helper for very much longer. Anthrax is rife in Etosha. Jackals are resistant, but many other animals die of the disease. Their carcasses provide the well-grown pups with an opportunity to scavenge. But chewing on old bones isn't very exciting. For a while, the pups distance themselves from life's harsh realities. An Abdim stork has a broken wing. The pups are young, but they can sense that it's injured. The bird can't fly away, but it can inflict a serious stab wound with its beak. The stork is outnumbered. Again, it's teamwork which accounts for the jackal's success. Kwesi has so far survived mainly on insects. He's not hungry enough to eat a gecko that's long dead. But it's still food, and he can't quite leave it alone. The time of plenty is coming to an end. Etosha dries out at an alarming speed, and when it does, the herds soon return to distant lands. Some animals have no need to move on. The African rock monitor remains inactive during the dry season to save energy. It is one of the largest carnivorous lizards on Earth. About 9,000 of these cold-blooded, meat-eating, 2-meter-long monsters live in Etosha National Park. They are a formidable adversary, but even the adults are not immune to attack. The honey badger has an awesome reputation. It's often described as being mean and fearless. The monitor lizard and the honey badger are an almost equal match weight for weight, but the lizard can deliver a devastating lash with its tail. The honey badger is undeterred. Having taken another swipe at its enemy, the lizard momentarily drops its guard. This is the moment the badger's been waiting for. The giant reptile is now effectively disarmed. The badger, reputation intact, won't need to hunt again for several days. This jackal is acting out of character. Something is seriously wrong. During the dry season, jackals tend to gather more often around water supplies. Due to the increased contact with other animals, they're more susceptible to diseases, including the dreaded rabies. As the disease progresses, rabid animals lose the ability to swallow and soon suffer from a terrible thirst. Clawing at their mouths is a common symptom. Desperate to drink, they concentrate around water holes. Rabies affects the nervous system, causing abnormal behavior. Diseased animals often bite without provocation at anything within reach, including other jackals. Rabies is transmitted through saliva. One case of the disease can soon become an outbreak, especially near water holes, which are communal meeting grounds. During the final stages, the stricken animal can go totally mad. Once the symptoms of the disease start to show, it's only a matter of days before the end. Quercy is now alone. To find a territory of his own could take him hundreds of kilometers from home. As long as he stays away from the disease-ridden area around the waterhole, Quercy stands a chance. Finding food is evermore a major concern. Ostrich eggs contain a nourishing meal, but the shells are hard and thick and almost impossible for a jackal to break into. These have already been tampered with. A hyena rolled them from their nest, cracking their shells in the process. For the first time in his life, Quercy must sleep in alien territory. He will doze fitfully. He must be on guard in this place, where everything is strange. Caracals usually have 2 kittens, but since they have no help in raising their young, mortality is high. This kitten has passed its most vulnerable age, and the odds are now more in its favor. The owners of the territory that Quercy has paused to rest in are hunting. In Etosha, jackals are mainly active at night. It's too hot during the day. They use their acute sense of smell to locate prey. The distress cries of the hare alert Quercy. The situation merits investigation. Always an opportunist, he tries to grab a portion for himself. But the prize is too valuable to share. The resident pair clearly communicate their resentment. Kwesi is not welcome. The resident male is overzealous in gulping down his meal and suffers the consequences. Kwesi has no choice but to move on. A distant waterhole offers ample new opportunities for Kwesi. Flocks of Namakwa sandgrouse fly in at first light to drink. Excited by so much potential food, Kwesi rushes in headlong. Doves visit in smaller groups. This time his efforts are more focused. There is a knack to catching doves. Kwesi just doesn't seem to have it. A thorn makes him hobble a few steps, but he's still determined. It's a matter of waiting until a bird has its back turned and its head down. But Kwesi is impatient and spoils what little chance he had. This male is a resident and a regular at the waterhole. He knows the birds only visit briefly, and he's not prepared to let an inexperienced stranger ruin a morning's hunting. There's so much food around that Kwesi considers standing up to him. But his opponent is older, bigger, and more confident. The body slam is used to communicate dominance without having to resort to more serious violence. The resident male has learned that dove hunting is a precise art. It requires timing and technique, and sometimes a little luck as well. There are some birds that no jackal will ever catch, except perhaps when they're very young. But ostriches are diligent parents. They can outrun a jackal, and one kick from a powerful leg could kill. But aerial attack is harder to combat. A martial eagle takes advantage of the chaos. Once grabbed, the chick should be doomed, but it's heavy. Unable to get airborne, and with an adult ostrich bearing down on it, the eagle releases its easy catch. While the young ostrich is fortunate, Kwezi seems fated to failure. But then there's an intriguing smell on the breeze. It's not food. It's more attractive than that. This female is unattached. She's nervous, but she's interested too. Perhaps his luck is changing. Not far away, another jackal is battling to keep possession of a carcass. Jackals can chase off and keep vultures at bay. This individual, though, seems intimidated by the ever-increasing numbers of these large, scavenging birds. The vulture's arrival will inform every scavenger within sight that there's the possibility of a meal nearby. Kwezi and the young female home in on the descending birds. Kwezi is at first submissive, but suddenly he decides to take a stand. He's maturing, and perhaps the female has given him a reason to assert his dominance. Kwezi takes over the carcass, but he still lacks experience in dealing with vultures. Sensing his hesitation, the birds crowd him out. He has to be content with a mouthful. One of the vultures is acting strangely. The hyena isn't hungry, it's only curious. A vulture that doesn't fly is confusing, and at the same time intriguing. Hyenas don't hunt vultures. They don't usually get the opportunity. Neither do they often get the chance to play with anything so tantalizing. Bemused, the hyenas release their hold. Remarkably, the vulture can still fly. Kwezi's young female is coming into estrus for the first time. It'll be a while, though, before she's ready to mate, and for now rejects his advances. Another male is attracted by the female's scent. The courting pair are preoccupied and are slow to notice his presence. Quercy has been the underdog for too long. The time has come to fight for his rights. The contest is vicious. The stakes are high. Quercy no longer takes second place. His rival is seriously wounded and may die of his injuries. Quercy has earned his dominant status and his mate. By marking prominent bushes in the area, Quercy and his female stake a claim to their new territory. From this day, they will remain paired for life. The female stands when Quercy approaches. It's a sign that she's now ready to mate. After the previous confusing rebuttals, Quercy is unsure of what's expected. He's slow to take his cue. Like dogs, jackals tie after mating. Inexperienced and confused, the young pair struggle to separate, but older, more mature individuals can remain tied for up to 20 minutes. Over the next few days, they will mate several times. The female is young, but luckily she conceives. In preparation for their forthcoming pups, the pair dig several dens. Honey badgers are a threat. The jackals must choose a den well away from the wanderings of these fearsome predators. After a gestation of 2 months, Quercy's female has had her pups. Jackals move dens regularly for safety. Having transferred 2 youngsters, she returns for the third and last one. Once she's near the new den, the pup has to complete the last leg on its own. The female knows that the less activity there is around the den, the better. While the pups are young, one of their parents usually stays nearby. At this age, the pups often sleep for short periods above ground, but they'll stay close to the den entrance just in case. Honey badgers travel many kilometers every night and crisscross their territory during their continual search for food. They've come across the jackal's new den. As the pups scurry below ground, they reveal their whereabouts. Quercy is away hunting for his new family, but his mate hears her pups' cries of distress. Considering the badger's reputation, the young female is either very foolish or very brave. Surprised by the onslaught, the honey badgers retreat, unfortunately, down the jackal's den. Frantic to save her first litter, the female increases her efforts to drive the enemy away. Concerned, the female returns to the den to check on her pups. One has died. It must have been killed during the battle. Quercy's calls alert the female to his return. As first-time parents, Quercy and his mate have no helpers. But hopefully, they'll raise at least one of these pups, so that it, in turn, can help them next year. The danger has passed for Quercy and his family, for now. The risks and the stakes are still high, but for this year at least, our jackals have beaten the odds.